Welcome. I've got a great project for you here. This is a Chippendale chair. It's somewhat traditional. It's also something that I've put my thumbprints all over in terms of both the design and the execution. What makes a Chippendale chair? There are two characteristic features that I think really define the style. One is that the back legs splay out like this. And the other thing that you find on most of these chairs are these ears, for lack of a better term, up here. Some sort of transition from the leg to the crest rail. And you'll find these on chairs that are fabulously ornate, carved, pierced backsplats and fluting and all sorts of ornamentation, or on this, which is one of the simplest iterations of that design. The chair has all kinds of interesting stuff. We've got mortise and tenon joints of all sorts. There are even a couple of half-blind dovetail joints in there. And you've got some interesting shaping of the parts. You're dealing with curves, angles, and a whole range of things to challenge you in your woodworking. But incredibly rewarding, and I think if you follow along, you'll see that each of these steps taken by itself will lead to a successful chair. The foundation of the chair joinery is the mortise and tenon joint. But on a chair like this, there are all kinds of variations, some subtle, some not so subtle, in terms of how this gets put together. The joints here, the front rail to the leg, they're straight ahead, straight mortise and tenon joints. And that's not a particular problem, but things get complex from there on. So on the back of the chair, you'll notice that the legs splay out. It's about a 5-degree angle of splay. And so the tenons are cut at an angle like this. The side rails are where things get truly interesting here. Because the side rails actually splay out, there's an angled joint, both at the front and the back as it joins to the legs. Now, there are actually two ways to do that. One is you can cut straight mortises in the legs and angle the tenons as they come out of the rails. What was traditionally done, and what I've done here, is to actually do something very different. The mortises are cut at an angle in the legs, and the tenons are cut straight, or actually parallel to the rails, and then the shoulders get the angle here. There's one other really intriguing thing about the side rails and the joinery there, which doesn't really affect the joinery all that much, but in order to get from the 5-degree angle here to the vertical here, this side rail actually has a twist to it. And the twist is actually from planing. We plane an angle on there. And you can see that in just the right light. Now, the stretcher joinery is actually pretty similar to what's going on the side rail because it too has a twist. It's a slightly different angle because this moves back further here. And so you have to adjust the angle there. But the stretcher joinery is different in that it is just a one-sided tenon. This makes it a little bit easier to cut what amounts to here a compound angle on this tenon here. There are a couple more joints worth talking about. The back splat actually has a similar sort of half tenon going on. Up on top, the rabbet for it here that creates that tenon is on the front. And then on the bottom, the rabbet is in the back there. And these fit into some large mortises. Now down here, this is just a straight ahead tenon, but I compensate for the angle by angling the bottom of this, which is called the saddle. On the top of the chair, we've got a slightly angled mortise here that sort of kicks it back down so it's aiming right here for the saddle. and basically straight ahead mortise and tenon joints that go into the crest rail here. We'll talk about how we do those a little bit later. That pretty much wraps up the joinery on the chair here. I want to talk a little bit more next about the actual layout and chopping of these mortises that we're going to do.